So episode 5 of Obi-Wan Kenobi has finally dropped and it certainly delivered. We were given a look at the return of the Grand Inquisitor, how Reva knows Anakin is Vader, and another look at Anakin inside of the Jedi Temple during Order 66. So let's break down all of the lore and connections from the books, comics, games, and other shows. Hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. So the episode begins on a wide shot of the sprawling cityscape of Coruscant in the beautifully lit daytime over the planet. We are then greeted by a Padawan Anakin Skywalker, exactly how he looked back in Attack of the Clones, maybe minus some of the de-aging, and he is waiting for his Master Obi-Wan to enter the room so he can have a lightsaber sparring match with him, just like many masters do with their apprentices. This does also kind of look like the same room where Reva and the other younglings were practicing in the Order 66 flashback scene, which of course makes sense. This is a training room after all. Before we can see any more of this, we jolt back to the present time with the stern and cold Darth Vader awaiting the arrival of Reva. When she enters the bridge of Vader's ship, she is told to kneel and then granted the rank of Grand Inquisitor. This does finally confirm that the Grand Inquisitor is actually a rank and not just the title of the first Inquisitor to get the position, and we did also see that in the previous episodes. Either way, we'll cover the Grand Inquisitor much more later in the video. All of the big questions will be answered and Rebels fans will be very happy. After this, we arrive on the planet of Jabeim. This is actually the site of one of the most brutal and bloody battles of the whole Clone Wars, where Obi-Wan and Anakin fought alongside each other. The Republic and the Separatists suffered horrific losses, and the battle got so bad that Anakin genuinely believed that Obi-Wan Kenobi had died. Anakin was then ordered to lead an evacuation of the planet once the battle was lost, and then he was faced with the horrifying decision of who to actually evacuate. There wasn't enough transport for the locals there, so he decided to save his own clones over the locals, and he then left them with the final words, "This is your war now," marking Anakin as the most hated man in Jabeim's history for years to come. Next up, we arrive back on Jabeim, and Haja Estri happens to be there waiting because of his little encounter with Reva earlier in the series. He's now wanted by the Empire, so he had nowhere else to go. Estri claims to know how it feels to be a real Jedi now, but somehow senses a business opportunity here. You gotta love this man, come on. Now after this, we actually get one of the deepest lore cuts in the show so far. Vader is staring off into hyperspace like he often does, and this is actually for a specific reason. If you look out into the streaking lights of hyperspace for too long, you can actually feel a form of psychosis known as hyperspace sickness. Usually people would try to avoid this, but Darth Vader actually loved its intoxicating effects because it relieved some of his suffering and pain. Back on Jabeim, Obi-Wan stares at another wall, again filled with Aurebesh names and messages from the Order 66 survivors of the Path. Some of these names and phrases include Corwin Shelvey, who was a Jedi Knight during the time of Order 66 in Legends, and was actually saved by his master after he was tracked down. He then also swayed dangerously close to the dark side, but joined Luke's new Jedi Order after the Battle of Endor. We then have Drake Logan, who was a Padawan during the Clone Wars and eventually got involved with Prince Shizor and the criminal underworld. Then Tiberius Anderlock, who was a Jedi pilot during the time of the Rebellion. After that, Raganda Ismarin, who was on the other wall in the last episode, and she served in the Emperor's hand, slowly climbing up the ladder of Imperial society so that she could get closer to the Emperor. Next, there was a phrase, "May the Force be with you," which doesn't need any explanation. And then, "There is no death, there is the Force," which of course is part of the Jedi Code. After that, one also says "only strength," which is weird because that is part of the Sith Code, and maybe one of the survivors started turning towards the dark side after his rescue. Very interesting either way. Obi-Wan then turns to see a crate full of lightsabers from the other survivors. Inside this crate we have the lightsabers of what look to be possibly Mace Windu's Phantom Menace lightsaber, one that kind of looks like Ki-Adi-Mundi's Phantom Menace lightsaber, Obi-Wan's of course, and then the rest probably belong to the other survivors at the camp. Next up, Darth Vader's ship arrives, and Obi-Wan immediately knows that Vader will attack quickly because he doesn't have the patience for a siege. How does he know this? Well, he remembers his sparring fight with Anakin back as a Padawan, where he warns him that he is too aggressive. Now, we can gauge quite a few things about this time period just from a few specific parts of Anakin. He of course still has his Padawan braid in this flashback, and he was knighted just after Attack of the Clones. This places the flashback right before that. Then we can also see that he is holding his Attack of the Clones lightsaber, again placing it before the movie. Although he definitely doesn't look 17 anymore. Maybe there could have been some de-aging, but hey, he still looks great to be fair. Back in the present, the Imperial forces mount an E-Web heavy repeating blaster to attack the base, and this is kind of a nice little throwback to Echo Base on Hoth. It's also a nod to the formation used by Moff Gideon in The Mandalorian Season 1 with the exact same weapon. Seems to be a common tactic. There are also a few Purge troopers in the formation, like the ones first seen in the Darth Vader comics and Jedi Fallen Order, which could actually be clone troopers since a lot of them were pulled out of the old clone ranks. But again, I'll get deeper into that later in the video because there is some evidence against that. After this, Obi-Wan receives a panicked message from Bail Organa saying that he'll go to Tatooine if he doesn't hear back shortly to help Owen with Luke. During this conversation though, Tala walks in and mentions that in her past she took part in a horrid mission on the planet Gorel. Gorel is actually the planet where the Phoenix Cell from Star Wars Rebels later set up a base. The Phoenix Cell included Hera, Sabine, Kanan, Rex and Ezra, and it even included Ahsoka for a short time. Awesome little connection to Star Wars Rebels there. Tala tells Obi-Wan that she followed orders to round up Force-sensitive families there, and from that moment onwards, she dedicated her life to protecting Force-sensitives so that nobody else would ever have to go through that pain again. Next, when Obi-Wan makes the request to negotiate, the Purge Trooper does have an American accent, so these may be later generation Purge Troopers who aren't clones. Right after this, Obi-Wan and Reva begin a dialogue and he wonders how she could possibly know that Anakin was Vader. She then reveals that she saw Anakin taking part in the slaughter of the Jedi Temple with her own eyes. She believed that he was only there to help him, but that was not to be. Reva then gives a heart-chilling description of how she played dead to avoid Anakin's wrath and felt the bodies of her dead friends go cold around her. Obi-Wan then has the shocking realization that she is not serving Vader, but instead hunting Anakin. Reva then demands to know where Obi-Wan was during all of that because he was Anakin's master. Why couldn't he stop him? Before Reva can go any further though, she snaps out of it and almost kills Obi-Wan by busting through the blaster doors. This then causes a massive Battlefront 2 co-op style battle to ensue, with Obi-Wan facing down a horde of stormtroopers led by Reva. In the huge battle, Obi-Wan also saved Corran Horn's mother Nisha, who, if you don't know Corran Horn, he was one of the most renowned Jedi from Luke's New Jedi Order in Legends. We already have confirmation that this is him from the previous episodes, so it's nice to see his mother also be a major part of the action. Soon after, Tala gives her life in a heartbreaking sacrifice by priming a blast charge, leaving Kenobi to watch. The thermal detonator then explodes and the entire base are left shocked and horrified by the action, but they know it was a sacrifice so that they could live. We then cut back to the flashback scene where Anakin shows his pure rage and repeatedly swings at Kenobi in a very similar way to what Vader does to Luke in their fight on the second Death Star. Obi-Wan then surrenders to Reva's forces and Obi-Wan again tries to get Reva to turn on her master Vader. As Leia finally succeeds with opening the hatch and the Force sensitives make it to the transport, they are abruptly stopped by Vader brutally pulling them right back to the ground and absolutely tearing the ship apart with fury. The only problem for the Sith Lord is they tricked him and the ship he pulled down was simply empty. After this, Reva attempts to backstab Vader, but the Sith Lord is not going to be fooled that easily. Reva channels all of her anger, rage and fury from that night of Order 66 and tries to take the Dark Lord down, but she has no chance. She even ignites the second blade on the saber and starts spinning it, a feature of Inquisitor sabers that we first saw in Star Wars Rebels. Awesomely though, Vader uses the Force to slow the spin down and split the saber in half, which gives us a saber that looks exactly like Darth Maul's from Star Wars Rebels, and we still don't know exactly how he got that, but obviously from an Inquisitor. Vader then gives one of the halves back to her and they engage in a full-on lightsaber battle. After a complete failure, Reva is stabbed through the chest with her flashing back to the night of Order 66 and the Grand Inquisitor finally returns from his long absence. It's nice to see old Grand Inquisitor back, and it would have been pretty contrived if he actually died and then came back or was a clone or any of those explanations. They were all copium. Either way, we then see Anakin slaughter even more younglings inside of the temple before the Grand Inquisitor pulls his pin back and takes his rightful position as the leader of the Inquisitorius. Now, Reva actually survives this and manages to crawl back to her lightsaber. On top of this, she also manages to find the little holopuck that Obi-Wan lost earlier and sees the message on it. This allows Reva to learn from Bail Organa that Owen will need help protecting a young boy on Tatooine. Obviously, we know from the first episode, Reva knows who Owen is and now knows that he is hiding something major on Tatooine. Back on the sandy planet, we then cut to an ominous shot of young Luke Skywalker asleep in his bed, not knowing that something terrifying is coming his way, and things are about to get very dangerous for him and his family. But let me know what you think Reva will do to Luke, Owen and Beru in the next episode down in the comments below. We're now set up for a huge finale next week, and one that will probably be massive. Thanks so much for watching guys, really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it this far, drop a thank Mr. Grand Inquisitor in the comments down below, as is tradition for these videos.